Noire is coming to current-gen consoles, and I'm really pleased about it. It's a very underrated game that could do with more fans, and if it sells well, it could open up the possibility for a sequel. But I've already reviewed it, so instead I thought I'd take a look at another Rockstar game that could do with much more attention, Bully. Or Canis Canamedit. Yeah, Bully's the better title. This game is somewhat well known and has already been given the remaster treatment on numerous consoles. But after 11 years, Rockstar seems hesitant to make a sequel. Personally, I'd really like to see one, but is that because the original is so good, or there's potential they wasted on the first try? Well, the term begins with our lead Jimmy Hopkins being dropped off at a boarding school while his parents go on a honeymoon. Bullworth Academy wouldn't exactly get the thumbs up from Ofsted, with plenty of bullies picking on students and teachers who don't exactly try to stop him. Jimmy decides to do something about it and take over every clique in the school. That's his main goal, but really the game is primarily about his time at Bullworth and all the capers he gets into. The plot structure is very similar to LA Noire, where most of the missions are standalone affairs with some subplots thrown in here and there. LA Noire struggled with this as they introduced these stories too early before being evaluated late into the game, long after you'll have forgotten about it. Bully ties it all together much better, because you do have a main goal that stays consistent throughout most of the missions. Tying everything together as one thing, are they actually entertaining missions? Well, yeah. Bullworth Academy is filled with lots of quirky stereotypes that are lots of fun to watch, particularly in contrast to the somewhat ordinary Jimmy, and I mean that as a good thing, as I really enjoyed controlling him throughout all the situations he got thrown into. Actually, a good chunk of those subplots are connected, as some of the characters get provoked to hate Jimmy by the game's main villain, Gary. His name just oozes evil. He contributes to the bigger picture and is far more interesting than he should be, and I just love his posh yet still maniacal voice.
Anyway, I've got a good idea for some fun.
Let's offer to make everyone tea, but put salt in it instead of sugar. On top of all the other great stuff about the missions, the best part is, well, the actual missions themselves. Most games tend to follow a similar pattern with their levels in premise, but Bully isn't most games. One minute you're stealthing through school to retrieve a diary, the next you'll be learning fighting moves from a homeless guy. There's a time when you take a girl out on a carnival date, and another when you're infiltrating a nerd base with a rocket gun. I'm sure this might sound like a drastic change in tone for those who have yet to play the game, but it all fits in this universe, and it makes for lots of variety that makes these missions, and the story itself, a lot of fun. It's time to get the class. Every in-game day you have 2 lessons you have to take part in. Well, you don't have to, but you'll get into trouble with the prefects if you don't. Besides, why would you want to? The lessons are really fun. I will say that the scholarship editions of this game do benefit from having a few more, as they can get kind of repetitive on the original version which I captured the footage from, but they're still enjoyable. Each class has 5 levels for you to complete, and you get rewards for beating them, from new bikes, weapons, getting extra health from kissing girls, etc. So they're not just there because the game's set in a school, you do have incentive to play them, and the fact that they're fun helps. Anyway, once you finish the lessons for the day, you can, well, do whatever you want. I mean, this is an open world game after all. But for a game of that genre, it's wonderfully restrictive. You don't actually get to explore the town until Chapter 2, and even then not all the map is open at that point. But it really works because you get enough time to know the last area like the back of your hand before you can do it all again with a brand new place to explore. Not to mention the design of Bullworth Academy and the town is awesome, with many great locations and its perfect size. At a glance, it's definitely not as big as some other open world games, but it's still quite large as well as quick to navigate around. And you'll be keen to explore it, as the map opening up as the game progresses isn't the only restriction in the world. In-game time is a factor to remember, and you have limited time to do what you want, thanks to aforementioned lessons as well as a curfew, which yes, you can ignore, but Jimmy will get tired and if you're not in bed by 2 AM, he'll pass out. Honestly, I like these restrictions, as you'll be keen to get plenty done in the time frame. And there is plenty to do. There's collectibles like rubber bands for you to find, errands to do which earn you cash, a wide plethora of really fun minigames for you to partake in, races to race, heck, there's even jobs for you to do like a paper round and lawn mowing, which are both surprisingly fun. Then you have the main story missions, which you usually have a few to choose from at one time, and, as mentioned earlier, are hugely varied in premise as well as in gameplay. Well, admittedly a little less so because you'll be fighting rivals a lot. It's very easy, but the satisfying sound effects and collection of weapons make it fun, and you don't spend every mission doing it. The variety is still there. There's some Metal Gear Solid style stealth encounters, some of the races and minigames are interwoven into some levels, there's certain places you have to be to do something, and to be honest, I could keep going on and on, so just know that there's plenty of mission types and it's all lots of fun. But even though I've been praising this game a lot throughout this video, I have yet to touch on what makes this game so special. Yes, the gameplay's fun, and though many other reviews will emphasize that that's the most important part of any game, I think it can only take you so far. If a game has good mechanics but nothing else to offer, it would be a decent time waster, but nothing more. And although Bully is lots of fun, it really benefits from the feel of the game. This is one of those games where you just fully immerse yourself into the world and almost become Jimmy Hopkins, imagining his thoughts and living out his day from the moment he arrives at the gates of Bulworth Academy, experiences certain holidays, and gets himself into all kinds of misadventures. Not to mention getting into daily routines of going to class, getting changed before heading into town, heading back to school at night, and even changing into my pajamas before I go to bed. What's the point of me doing that? Because I'm so into the game, it just feels natural. That's the main reason I love this game, but everything comes together into one fantastic package. From the story to the gameplay, world design, presentation, and the instantly nostalgic soundtrack. This is easily one of my favourite open world games, and what NerdCube ranked as the greatest game of all time, and yeah, it's hard to argue with that. Writing this script has made me love this game even more than I already did, and it absolutely gets a 94% grade. To put it simply, Jimmy's year at Bulworth Academy is one that all of you should enroll in.